Soul Streaming Entry 10. The Blueprint of an Unconventional Innovator. A living, breathing audio and written experience by Sim. Innovators always feel like late bloomers. And not because we're behind, but because we're the exception to the path everyone else agreed to walk. Our lives don't follow the standard script. Our timelines never match the people around us. We don't bloom early. We bloom when our soul says it's time. And if the world thinks we're moving too slow, or out of order, or off course, we're the ones who choose to go against the grain, not blend into it. We're the ones who bend the timeline instead of trying to fit inside of it. We're the ones whose lives only make sense later, when every detour, every heartbreak, every ego death, and every uprooting reveals itself as the blueprint that someone else will one day swear saved them and paved the way. And when I sit with it, I realize that's why my life always looked delayed from the outside. But it wasn't delayed. Shit, it was designed, spirit timed, aligned with a rhythm bigger than the Matrix expectations. Deep down, I always knew I wasn't meant for the straight line path. I wasn't meant to follow the map. Hell, I was meant to draw it. I wasn't meant to walk the common road. I was meant to carve a new one with my ideas, my experiences, my choices, and my faith. And now I can finally articulate something I didn't have the language for before. I'm meant to be the proof that there is more. More to life, more to becoming, more to healing, more to creation than the stories we inherited or the expectations placed on us. Right now, I'm deep in the unknown, not lost, but initiated, not wandering, but becoming, not behind, but right on divine time. And for the first time, I'm letting the truth settle in my bones. This is what the path of an innovator actually looks like. Not aesthetic, not glamorous, not clean or curated, but messy, mystical, uncomfortable, beautiful, disorienting, and deeply aligned all at once. It's 10:59, well technically 11 p.m., and I'm sitting here with fruit beside me, puffing on my herbs, letting myself remember everything I've lived through. Especially since I'm in the trenches of seeing myself more deeply in this 10-day workshop I'm in. The ego deaths, the lifetimes lived inside my own skin, the shedding, the rebuilding, the spiraling, the expansions, the contractions, the blind faith, yes, blind faith, and the way I've had to stretch my trust in the unseen further than I ever thought possible. People don't talk about this part. The inner architecture you're constantly building and rebuilding, even when no one is watching. The way your mind maps possibilities most people can't yet see exists in the world. The spiritual stamina it takes to carry visions that arrive long before the proof. How innovation requires you to stretch your awareness, hold contradictions, and stay receptive even when you're tired. The downloads that hit you at inconvenient hours because your soul refuses to follow anyone else's timing. How you're always discerning what's yours, what's inherited, and what's collective, so you can transform it into something useful, something meaningful, something new. The responsibility of carrying ideas that feel bigger than your body, yet somehow still feel like they chose you. People romanticize innovation, but they don't see the trenches. And innovators live in the trenches long before they create anything worth celebrating. As a 1-3 projector, this truth hits even deeper. I don't operate like other people. I don't build like them. I don't create like them. I don't move like them. Projectors are here to guide, not grind, to see, not chase, to energetically lead, not physically force. But guidance requires experience. It requires trial and error. It requires lived wisdom. It requires falling apart so your aura learns how to put itself back together. Every failure, in my life was a curriculum. Every detour was an initiation. Every pivot unlocked a new piece of my blueprint. And all the things I've done, the things some people assume were random, fast, or temporary, they were all part of my becoming. And let me break it down. My contactless massage business was my business initiation. My contactless massage studio was never just a studio. It was my first act of innovation. While the world followed the traditional path, I created a healing experience that didn't require touch at all. It showed me that I am wired to build what doesn't already exist, to follow ideas that feel odd to others but natural to me. This season taught me how to build from nothing, design with intention, hold space energetically, and run a business solo. And even though this path looked nothing like anything I've done before or after, it was still part of the bigger plan, teaching me how to trust my creations even when they don't fit the mold. My podcast was my voice initiation. The podcast was another form of innovation by finding a new way to express myself when my soul needed a different outlet. Speaking my raw, unfiltered truth became a tool for liberating myself and others. It showed me that innovation isn't always about creating a product. Sometimes it's creating a space for honesty the world doesn't know how to hold. And even though the podcast looked completely different from my massage studio, it was preparing me for the same thing, to honor the versions of myself that needed to be heard, reshaped, and elevated so I could lead in my own way. My spiritual product line was my energy initiation. Creating my spiritual products was innovation expressed through energy work by taking intention, frequency, and healing and embedding them into physical items people could hold. It proved that my creativity evolves with my seasons, showing up in ways that look different but always carry the same essence. I build portals. I create pathways for people to feel something. And even though this phase didn't resemble my podcast or my studio, it served the same purpose in the bigger picture, teaching me that I'm meant to create in multiple dimensions, not just one lane. My visual storytelling plus deprogramming was my teacher initiation. When I began decoding emotions, creating visuals, and simplifying spiritual truths, I stepped into a new form of innovation by turning complex inner worlds into language people could finally understand. It showed me that my mind naturally reorganizes chaos into clarity. And even though these teachings look different than candles, products, podcasts, or contactless healing, they were part of the same divine preparation, showing me that my purpose isn't to stay in a box, but to innovate in every medium Spirit hands me. Every season sharpened my ability to see patterns, guide others, and create frameworks that didn't exist before. My homeless by choice initiation, the biggest pivot, the one that still shocks people when they hear it, was the moment I chose to become homeless on purpose. Not because I lacked planning, discipline, money, or direction. Not because life collapsed in a way I didn't want it to, but because I could feel the walls around me shrinking. I could feel my spirit suffocating inside a structure that no longer matched who I was becoming. This choice wasn't chaos, it was innovation. It was the moment I stopped living a life I inherited and started living a life I was creating. Because innovators don't just invent businesses or ideas, we reinvent ourselves. We redesign how we live. We experiment with our own existence. So when Spirit whispered, "Leave, there's more for you," I listened. Most people cling to their homes because the Matrix has convinced them safety lives inside four walls: a mortgage, a lease, a zip code, the illusion of being a responsible adult. But I knew I wasn't safe. I was stagnant. I wasn't grounded. I was spiritually dying in one place. I wasn't stable. I was misaligned. I didn't want a life where I only worked to come home, sleep, eat, and repeat. I didn't want to spend years paying for a place I barely enjoyed. So I chose something else. I chose freedom as my foundation. And yes, most people would have been terrified. They would have ignored the download. They would have chosen comfort over calling. They would have talked themselves out of their own liberation. But I'm not most people. I'm an innovator in every arena to include how I inhabit the world. I followed the whisper that said, go, expand. Your soul has places to visit. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of this leap. And then it clicked. I'm the woman who treats her life like a prototype, not a pattern. The woman who adjusts, pivots, and chooses what others don't even consider. Not because I'm lost, but because I'm built to innovate. My choices stopped aligning with the world the moment I started aligning with my own design. I'm wired to question defaults, rewrite norms, and create systems that fit me, not the majority. That isn't chaos, it's strategy, it's intentional architecture. The unconventional path wasn't a detour, it was the method. Me innovating in real time, me proving that stability isn't a place you find, it's a reality you build. The architecture of an innovator. True innovators aren't built for settling, and not because we're rebellious, but because our spirits recognize possibilities long before they exist. There's a part of me that has always trusted what others can't see, an inner compass that points toward the impossible and whispers, go ahead, it's already yours. This recent spiritual workshop I attended didn't awaken something new. It amplified what was already living in me. It brought my internal blueprint into full view. I realized how naturally I lean into the unknown, how instinctively I follow the intangible, how deeply I trust what doesn't make sense to anyone but spirit and me. It revealed the places where I had been dimming my brilliance not out of fear, but out of habit, while simply forgetting that my power isn't meant to be rationed. It showed me the magnitude of the vision I've been carrying and the parts of myself I've been waiting years to inhabit. And now I'm standing here meeting a version of me that feels ancient, inevitable, and entirely aligned. A power that doesn't overwhelm me, but finally feels like home. A power that feels inherited. A power that feels like destiny finally catching up with me. This isn't about escaping smallness. It's about stepping into the truth. I was designed to innovate, initiate, and imagine beyond the limits the world tried to hand me. I'm finally living in that design, fully, consciously, and unapologetically. My legacy thread. Being an innovator means being a vessel, a portal, a channel, a bridge between the seen and the unseen. It means carrying visions not meant for the world you were born into, but for the world you're helping build. It means allowing yourself to be guided by ancestors and higher beings, whispering directions you can't always explain. It means accepting that your life will make sense only in hindsight because you are walking a path that does not yet exist. It's not sacrifice, it's an honor. To study the dark, you can teach the light. To transmute what others fear. To turn pain into portals. To decode patterns into pathways. To make healing accessible. To make freedom feel possible. My life is not random. My choices are not accidents. My detours are not mistakes. Everything I've ever built, created, tested, tried, succeeded at, walked away from, or resurrected has been leading me here, to this moment, to this version of myself, to this realization. I am and always have been an innovator, a portal, a trailblazer, a way shower, a living blueprint. And this time, I'm stepping into my fullness with intention, not apology. I'm no longer shaping myself to fit limits I've outgrown or translating my vision for people who were never meant to understand it. This is my life as an innovator, unfiltered, intuitive, spirit led, and rooted in my truth. Not the polished version, not the digestible version, the real one. and I'm finally ready to live it out loud exactly as it arrives through me. A whisper for you. Blind faith, aka innovation, is a lifestyle, not a hobby. It's a frequency and a calling. It's trusting downloads before there's proof. It's walking towards something you can feel but can't yet explain. It's jumping without knowing if the ground will appear. It's following the soul instead of following the rules. And this 10-day workshop I've been in has cracked me open again. The amount of purging and exhaustion, the light codes activated, the emotional tidal waves, the ancestral energy moving through me. It's made me remember the darkest moments of my journey. The dark night exhaustion, the confusion, the breakdowns that felt final. The nights where I didn't know if I could do this anymore. But now I understand. Every time I thought I was breaking down, I was breaking open. Sometimes I lose my train of thought. Sometimes the energy moving through me is too much for my physical body. Sometimes I don't know where any of this is going. But I've learned to trust that confusion is the cocoon. Confusion is where spirit rearranges you. Confusion is where the next version of you is being coded. Here are your journal prompts for this entry. Answer honestly. Number 1. Where in my life have I been following the map instead of drawing my own? And what would my path look like if I trusted my inner blueprint more than the world's expectations? Number 2. When has my soul led me into the unknown before? And what did those experiences reveal about who I truly am as an innovator, guide, or creator? Number 3. Which path detours, failures, or random phases now make sense as initiations? And what wisdom did each one secretly train me for? Number 4. What parts of my identity, power, or gifts am I still rationing? And what would my life look like if I lived from my full frequency instead of curating pieces of myself? Number 5. In what ways can I honor my current season as divine timing, not delay? And how can I support myself as I continue becoming the version of me that my lineage dreamed of? Thank you for witnessing this soul stream. Replay it or reread it whenever you need to come home to yourself. Until next time, stay soft, stay true, and keep streaming your soul your way. Love, Sim.